So it's another lovely night in Borealis, and today we're gonna take a look at the Protection Paladin on the Battle for Azeroth Beta. So we're gonna go through what has happened, what has changed, and how does the new talents work, if there are any. Starting off with a few changes to our spellbook and our baseline skills. Starting off with our Mastery. So Mastery now increases the armor bonus of Shield of the Righteous, based by a percentage of your strength, and increases your block by 26%, which is a lot higher than on live. I think it's 16% instead. So going through our Mastery, it goes hand in hand with our new active mitigation, which is still Shield of the Righteous, but it increases your armor instead of a percentage reduced damage taken. So the more strength you have, the more armor you get from this, and the more mastery you have, the better it scales. Other than that, there's a few more changes to Shield of Righteous, which just makes it so much better. First of all, if you read the tooltip, I'm gonna read it out for you. Slams enemies in front of you with your shield, so it's now a frontal cone instead of a single target ability, which is so good. Other than that, we have one more change to it. Just gonna click down this. Look at this. Look at this. I'm targeting myself using Shield of Righteous. Just stacking it up there. It's so good. So you don't need a target, and you don't need to be in range or hit anything to use your mitigation. And what this means is, if there's ever any dodgy boss or trash pack or anything, you can just have your mitigation up before you take the damage, instead of running and blindly going, ah, let me hit ya. So yeah, loving it. Other than that, we have a few changes to our self-heal. Hannity Protector. Usually called Light Protector, but I have it talented. So what has changed? It just heals a shit ton more now. So it heals for 3.6k currently, increased by up to 200% based on your missing health. So getting the full value of this and a crit on it, you heal for over 20k with it at this level, which is almost my entire HP. So it's pretty much a lay on hands on a 12-second cooldown, if you use it properly. Of course, if you use it when you have just taken a little damage, you won't get as much out of it, but in a pinch, oh my god, so good. Now we have a few minor changes. We have, let me go here. We have Divine Steed on a 1-minute cooldown instead of 45 seconds. Ardent Defender on a 2-minute cooldown instead of 1.5 on live, which it is with the artifact traits. And Avenging Wrath increases your damage, healing, and critical strike chance by 20%. So instead of doing 35% more healing and damage, you now do 20%, but they added crit into the mix. Which, in my opinion, just makes it that much better. At least for Protection Paladin, more crit, more self-heal, and reduced cooldown on your Shield of Righteous. So that's pretty much it for the spellbook changes. Correct me if I'm wrong. If I've missed any changes on any of these, hit me up in the comments below and laugh a bit at me. So moving on to the talent rows. So I'm gonna go through each row, talk a bit about them, and give you my 2 cents on them. So first of all, we're gonna start with Holy Shield, the thing I'm rocking right now for dungeons. So it pretty much works the same way on live, it's just a lot better in Battle of Azeroth. First of all, since your mitigation is armor, and block just works so well with it, but Holy Shield allows you to block spells. So pretty much have a magic reduction right there, which not a lot of other tanks have. So it works very well. Other than that, it does a shit ton of damage for just being a passive one. It's usually around 6% of my overall damage in dungeons, granted at level 110, but still. Consecrated Hammer. Hammer of Righteous has no cooldown. And Hammer of Righteous always gets the benefit of Consecration, even if you're not standing in it. So what Consecration does is, if I pop it right now, Hammer of Righteous also causes a wave of light that hits all other enemies near the target. So basically, if you're standing in your Consecrate, your Hammer of Righteous becomes an AoE. With this, you don't need to stand in a Consecrate. But you should never pick this, because it's never an issue and you will never need that. Sure, when you run between mobs, it hits a single target, but that's about it. Everything you have in your arsenal is an AoE, so you don't really need to add this one. But then we have Blessed Hammer. Replaces Hammer of Righteous and just gives you those spiraling Blessed Hammers around you. Hits everything around them and deals a bit of damage, but more importantly, any enemy hit by them deal 12% less damage to you on their next swing, on the next auto attack. So this is pretty good for hard-hitting bosses. Not necessarily that good for trash, especially not with Holy Shield and how it works right now. So that's why I'm working with Holy Shield. But it's been the cookie cutter one for Legion, and it's probably gonna see its uses on raid bosses in Battle for Azeroth as well. But for now, stick with Holy Shield if you're doing dungeons and questing. Level 30 row. Crusader's Judgment. Judgment now has 2 charges, and Grand Crusader now also grants a charge of Judgment. So what Grand Crusader is, for the people that don't know, it's our passive proc. So when you avoid a melee attack or use Hammer of the Righteous, you have a 25% chance to reset the remaining cooldown on your Avenger Shield, which is why we can spam shields all the time. So what this one does is you also reduce the cooldown, or you reset the cooldown on your Judgment anytime it procs. So you get 1 shield and 1 Judgment back, which is pretty good. Not something I personally have used that much in the past, and probably won't be using that much. First Avenger is the one I use and pretty much will always use unless it's a really hard boss. So what this one does is Avenger Shield now deals 50% increased damage to the first target hit, and Grand Crusader procs 10% more often, which is why I'm using it. First of all, 50% more damage against one target is really good. But 10% more, or well, adding to your proc chance, so it's 35% instead of 25%, is really good. Especially for AoEing, you just have shields for days. And last talent is Bastion of Light. 2-minute cooldown, immediately grants you 3 charges of Shield of the Righteous, which is your active mitigation. So this is pretty much a defensive cooldown. I mean, if you're having problems with a boss or dungeon or anything and you feel like you need more survivability, just go for this one and you can have a higher uptime on your active mitigation. 45. PvP row. Now, CC row. Fist of Justice. Judgment reduces the remaining cooldown on Hammer of Justice by 10 seconds. Hammer of Justice being baseline on a 1-minute cooldown. So this one is very good. I use it mainly for dungeons and questing, so I can have a higher uptime on my single target stun for priority targets. Repentance is the CC 1 minute in cap. Works on humanoids, demons, undead, dragonkins and giants. Pretty much never use this. I mean, it has its niche uses like Mage Tower, stuff like that, but other than that, Blinding Light. 1.5 minute cooldown, and it's 10-yard blind, disorienting them for 10 seconds, and any non-holy damage will break. So using any holy damage effects or skills will not break this CC, but anything else touches them and it breaks. What I use this for is dungeons where I need to interrupt casts or other things like that. So if you're AoEing, you have 5 mobs on you and 3 of them are casting, you can just pop this one and you interrupt everyone. Doesn't matter if the CC breaks instantly, because the only thing you want out of it is breaking or interrupting them. So I'm swapping between Blinding Light and Fist of Justice depending on what I'm doing, but most of the time going Fist of Justice. 60 talent. Not really sure what to say about this row. First we have Retribution Aura, which they should just give Retribution Paladins baseline. Keep the class fantasy aligned. Give us. But what it does is party or raid members within 60 yards get an aura that when they get meleeed, they take a bit of damage. It sucks. It's worthless. Never use this. Don't use it on live. Don't use it here. I mean, it looks cool. Woo, we have auras, but it's no. Then we have Cavalier. Divine Steed now has 2 charges. Very good talent if you don't need Blessing of Spell Warding. We'll go over that soon. But yeah, it's always good with mobility. As I said, it's on a 1 minute cooldown now, so having 2 charges is very good. So whenever you don't need Blessing of Spell Warding, opt in for this one. So what Blessing of Spell Warding does, it replaces your Blessing of Protection. Blessing of Protection being your immunity to physical damage. And it now works against magical damage instead. So when you pop Blessing of Spell Warding, you get immune to magical attacks and effects for 10 seconds. And it works on pretty much 99% of any spell out there, be it a fear or damage or curses or whatever. Which is why I use it all the time, because tanking, I can pull like a shit ton of casters, pop this, won't be a problem, or raid boss mechanics or whatever. It's just really, really good. And especially now that our mitigation doesn't work on spell damage, just works on physical damage. So the only thing we have to deal with magical attacks is our cooldowns, be it Ardent Defender, Guardian of the Ancient Kings, stuff like that. Adding this one is just so good. Moving on. Final stand, 75 row I meant. 75 row, we have Final Stand. When you use Divine Shield, your bubble. You also taunt everything within 15 yards for 8 seconds. So, using Divine Shield, you become immune to everything and anything. But you lose aggro on every mob. Having this one, you don't. So you're pretty much immune to everything for 8 seconds with this one up. It's pretty good. It definitely has its uses in dungeons for weird pulls, or currently on live I use it when it's necrotic to reset my stacks and stuff like that. Unbreakable Spirit reduces the cooldown on your Divine Shield, Ardent Defender and Lay on Hands by 30%. I mean, it's not that bad, but it's yet again very specific. I mean, it's if you're doing a boss or a dungeon where you're like, oh, I have to have something up at these breakpoints during the fight. Or just take overall less damage, but I wouldn't use this personally. The one I use 99% of the time is Hannity Protector. It replaces your Light of the Protector being your regular self-heal. On a 17-second cooldown, healing you for 3.6k, increased by up to 200% based on your missing health. But you can only use it on yourself. Speccing into Hannity Protector reduces its cooldown. It's now on a 12.7 sec cooldown for me. And you can heal a friendly target, including yourself. So whenever you're not taking damage, you can always save someone else with it, be it your DPS standing in shit or off tank who doesn't know what his active mitigation is. Use this on him. So that's mainly use it for the cooldown reduction, but having more tools is just very good. 90 row, which would be our support row. You have Judgment of Light. It's 25 successful attacks now, down from 40 successful attacks on live. So basically what this does is when you judge a target, anyone who hits it gets healed a little bit. It's not that good. Consecrated Ground is usually what I go for. Up to 6 allies standing within your Consecrate receives some healing. But more importantly, any enemy within your Consecrate have 50% reduced movement speed, which is why I use it. Because if I ever need to kite, I don't have to rely on other people's slows. And slows have been seriously reduced in Battle for Azeroth. I mean, seriously reduced. So having a 50% is just very good. Aegis of Light is a defensive cooldown to help your party or raid. So any and all allies standing within 10 yards behind you for 6 seconds takes 20% reduced damage. So this is very good for dungeons or high keys where boss mechanics does a shit ton of damage, be it like Darkheart Thicket on a high Tyrannical. When he hits 50%, he does a massive AoE. Using this one, you can just reduce everyone's damage taken by 20%. So it just works like Halls of Valor Shield, pretty much. Which I'm guessing is where they got it from. So you pop it, everyone in this radius takes less damage. So it definitely has its uses. I rock it for for high keys, so when I need to help my party out. But most of the case I'm going for Consecrated Ground to be safe. So our last row, 100 row, we have Last Defender. The more enemies you have near you, the less damage you take and the more damage you deal. 3% per target, but it has diminishing returns, so it won't stack to infinity. You won't, if you have 100 mobs, you won't do 300% more damage, sadly. Not seeing a lot of use right now, mainly due to the other two talents are just a lot better. So Righteous Protector is what I'm using currently on the beta for doing dungeons. Reduces cooldown on Light of the Protector and Avenging Wrath. So it just helps a lot with your defensives or self-healing. So you can pull bigger packs because you get your self-heal back faster. Yeah, liking it very much. Seraphim is usually your high risk, high reward talent. You use 2 charges or up to 2 charges of your Shield of Righteous, which is your active mitigation. So you use 2 charges and you get a buff. Haste, crit, mastery and versatility is increased by 249, which is a lot. Because right now at 110, no fanciness, I'm rocking 353 crit. So this one gives me a bit more than 2/3 of what I already have in every secondary stat. Lasts for up to 8 seconds per charge, so 16 seconds. But that's where the risk comes in, because you want to use your Shield of Righteous on, well, you want to use it as your mitigation. So if there's any risk of you dying just to do more damage, don't pick this, go for the safe one. But as you gear up, get more comfortable with how the dungeons work and everything, you can start weaving Seraphim in. And I mean, it's not purely damage, because I mean, giving you haste, crit, master and versatility also increases your defensive capabilities. Just not as good as Shield of Righteous. So that's pretty much it for the Protection Paladin on the Battle for Azeroth Beta and what has happened to them. A few final words. I've been doing quite a few dungeons with different paladins just to see how it feels, and it feels pretty much the same as it does on live. The kit hasn't changed that much, the rotation hasn't changed at all. You have massive self-heals with the changes to Light of the Protector, since it now is basically a lay on hands instead of a heal. And your damage is just through the roof when you're AoE. Shield procs everywhere, Shield of Righteous going all Avenger style on it. And yeah, I'm just loving the changes they've done. The fact that Shield of Righteous hits more than 1 target. Your active mitigation is now armor, and how Light of the Protector works. Everything just feels very good. And the fact that Shield of the Righteous is not on the global cooldown is a big plus in my book, because that means that you can run in and put down a Consecrate while hitting your Shield of Righteous, and it just feels so much better. Having something off the global cooldown that does damage just feels very good. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions about the Protection Paladin, just hit me up in the comments below and I'll answer it as well as I can. And as always, please like, comment and subscribe. And thanks for watching.